Hey everyone, welcome back to the next part of the Shimmering Skies review. This time we're on Emeralds. Let's look at our first card. It's a 9 cost uninkable Robin Hood 6/6 that quests for 4. For each 1 damage on opposing characters, you pay 1 less to play this character, and it has Ward. This is a really exciting card. I love all the Robin Hood synergies and even just kind of the way the Robin Hood cards are built. I'm going to put this in A. I think that's going to be pretty easy to set up this card so you're not paying 9 and thinking about it like you'd be happy paying 6 7 for this card. The Ward is a super nice touch on it, and I think that there's going to be a lot of decks that are going to find ways to utilize this, and it will be definitely a tough card to deal with in a lot of decks. Next card. Oh, my bad. Shenzi, Scar's Accomplice, 3 cost, inkable 2/3 with evasive. While challenging a damaged character, this character gets +2. I'm just going to put it in D. Seems very niche. Love the hyenas, though. Very cool stuff. Little John, a 0/4, 1 cost, inkable, quest for 1, another D. Zazu, Advisor to Mufasa, 5 cost, inkable, 3/5, evasive, that quest for 2. I guess I'll put it in C. It doesn't seem completely unplayable. Things like comparable to Dawn Carnage from the last, or that was, I guess that was Inkland's. The 3 cost obviously hurts it with being able to be outed by Medusa, but having something with a little bit more health and evasive could see some play, and especially some evasive heavy decks. But other than that, I don't think it's just going to slot into many competitive decks. All 4 cost, inkable, 4/3, quest for 2. This character cannot exert to sing songs. This is definitely D. I was talking with one of my friends at Locals, and he was like, this is just like the Arthur card that we got in set 2. Almost identical, just it can't sing, which makes it very much worse. And the other Arthur wasn't good. We have Ed, Laughing Hyena, 3 cost, uninkable, 2/3. When you play this character, you may deal 2 damage to token damaged character. This is in C, being able to be a fire the cannons there. I forget what the Stampede, I think, is the Emerald version of that on a body. Again, having it to be on a damaged character is definitely more situational, but anything that can help is with, or it can be like a little removal on a body, I think has a possibility to see some play, but I'll just put it in C. I don't think it's quite there yet. Flora, Good Fairy, 2/4, 3 cost, inkable. While being challenged, this character gets +2 strength, a quest for 1. This is a D. The things I cared about being challenged before, I think were better fit in aggressive decks where you want to swing off and then still allow your aggressive characters to trade. This doesn't really do that. Merryweather, a 1 cost, inkable, 1/2. When you play this character, you may pay 1 to give chosen character +2 this turn. So Emerald starts getting a lot of these like modal cards, we'll call it, where you have the option to pay an additional cost to get an effect. This is similar to the Megara from set 1, where it was a 2 cost and you just do the effect. Megara was a 2/1, but that did see some play. I think that card's just better. Like, I don't know if you would ever just want to play this as a 1 drop. I think that's pretty bad. So I'm going to put it in D. Robin Hood, Archery Contestant, 2/2, a quest for 1. But when you play this character, if an opponent has a damaged character in play, gain 1 lore. I think that this is a fun card. I think it will definitely slot into some Robin Hood decks. It's a good shift target for some of the Robin Hoods we'll see in a second. And it will give you lore out of nowhere. I think that as an ability or as an effect is pretty strong. So being able just to gain lore without having to quest or just playing a card, I think is going to be really good. Whether or not the Robin Hood, typal deck starts to gain traction as a competitive deck, I don't know, but definitely in just a Robin Hood deck, you'll want to play this. I don't know if you want to play it in just like a Ping Matters deck, but we'll see. Fauna, Good Fairy, 3/7, 5 cost, inkable, quest for 2. Another D card, again, just vanilla. The health is, or the willpower is nice, but everything else is. Iago Fake Flamingo. It's a 4-cost inkable 2/4 evasive that says when this character quest, you pay 2 less for the next action you play this turn. I don't know. I would say either high C. I think the ability to pay less for an action seems pretty strong. Now, whether or not you're going to be able to get this off and what you would try to do. I mean, we haven't really seen it too much, but you play this on turn 4, on turn 5, you quest for it, and then you could play a Be Prepared if you were in Emerald Ruby, which seems pretty good. So I'll leave it in B right now. That might be optimistic. It was definitely like a low B, high C kind of thing, but I think paying less for anything is pretty good. We see it with Amber in songs. We see it effectively in Sapphire by just ramping, and you have things that will cost less. So I think that it could definitely see play. Banzai, 2-cost uninkable 3/2 that quests for 2. It's a vanilla, but it's pretty well statted. It will go in the hyena decks. I think again it could help for being somewhat aggressive. It will also trade, so it will if they play a snake, you can still quest for 2, and it will trade off into the snake. Cool card. Ed, 4-cost uninkable 2/4 that quests for 3 that says damaged characters can't challenge this character. So this would be another payoff towards playing the hyenas, playing this damage pings matter. I don't think it's again good enough to make it in the competitive decks, but I think that it's a fun kind of build around, and especially if you're going hyenas, you'll want this guy in there. And being able to quest for 3, and if you can find a way to consistently ping your opponent's characters and they can't challenge this, who knows, but dies to brawl and all that good stuff. Scroop, 3-cost uninkable 2/1 evasive that quests for 2, and it says when you play this character, you may play 5 or pay 3 to banish chosen damaged character. On its own, it's okay, right? So think of it as like a Dragonfire with a little bit of a body. Again, the character does have to be damaged, so there is some conditions that need to be met. I'm gonna put it in D right now, and we're going to talk about why a little bit later. There's a card that is released in this set that I think just does this better and does it more effectively than Scroop does. So he never even had a chance, my boy. Prince Philip, a 7-cost inkable 3/9 quest for 3 that says when you play this character, banish chosen opposing dragon character. Whenever he challenges a damaged character, ready this character after the challenge. So a couple of cool things here. I think the body is pretty nice. It still dies to Medusa, unfortunately. But if there's a lot of Sisus in the meta, that's gonna just take down a Sisu right away. If we start seeing the Maleficent Dragons and you're in late game, again, it can take down one of those. And if there's any way to you can give it Rush, where you have your board set up, it kind of does the Scar thing, and then at the end you can quest with it. I guess not if you give it Rush, but the ability to kind of have those two, don't think it would definitely be very like meta dependent. I'm gonna put it in C right now. It could be a tech card. The fact that it's inkable is super nice for that tech card, but specifically hitting dragons, I think, is maybe a little bit too niche to really make its way into a deck. And for to be on its own, I think that it's probably a little too narrow. Clarabelle, Light on her Hooves, 7-cost inkable 5/6 that shifts for 5. It also quests for 2. At the end of your turn, if chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you, you may draw cards until you have the same number. So this is really good. I'm going to put it high A, potentially low S. I think that this is... Emerald's always struggled with card draw, and especially against games against Amethyst, if they don't have it right away, they kind of just get outvalued in card advantage. So being able to draw multiple cards off of, and it's at the end of your turn. So you play it. If you're down on card advantage, you can go and meet them right away, and you're refilling your hand. I think that the ability to do that in Emerald is really, really good. I think that this will most likely be in a lot of Emerald decks. I'll put it in NS. I think that that's gonna, again, kind of change the game a little bit. Very cool. On a Diplomatic Queen, 3 cost uninkable 2/3. It quests for 2, and it says when you pay this character, you may pay 2 to choose one. Each opponent chooses and discards a card. Chosen character gets +2 attack this turn and banish chosen damage character. So this is the card I was talking about with Scroop. You're going to be paying the same amount. You get a better body. It doesn't have evasive, but a little bit more health, which I think is more valuable, and you have more options to kind of work with. So I think most of the time, if the board is set up, you can do damage character, but being able to say, okay, if they have a location in play, or you want to make a favorable trade, I'm going to give you +2, or if you want to kind of go into the discard thing, you can play a sudden chill for free when you're doing this. So I think that this offers a lot of versatility, and because of that, I think that it's going to see a good amount of play. I think that both of these legendaries are really strong, and it will be exciting to see hopefully a little bit more variety with Emerald, as opposed to just being a Bucky discard deck. I think that they have a lot of really cool mechanics that make it frustrating to play against, and I'd love to see the different options and decks that come out of this new set be in here. Clarabelle, Clumsy Guest. It's a 1/2, 1 cost inkable, quest for 1. When you play this character, you may pay 2 to banish chosen item. I think that, with the Clarabelle that we saw, I think that this gives a nice shift target. Again, it's inkable, which is great, and it's good item hate. So if we start seeing, if you're in certain matchups, if you're playing against Lucky Dime and you can pay 3 to get this down and get rid of a Lucky Dime or something like that, I think that that's going to be really powerful in that moment. I'm just going to put it in B because, again, it's really like matchup dependent, and having some shift targets for this Clarabelle will be good, but the card in a vacuum is fine, very dependent on who you're playing against and what's strong in the meta. We have another Banzai. It's a 2 cost inkable 2/2 that quests for 1. When you play this character, you may exert chosen damage character. I'm going to put this in D. I don't think that it's super strong. The ability to exert something is fine, but most likely you're going to be playing this in Steel, and you're going to be having like ping effects, and you're probably going to want to take stuff out that way as opposed to challenging. So don't know how well it fits into the game plan of what it's going to be, what you want to be doing anyways. Robin Hood, Sneaky Sleuth, 5 cost inkable 3/5. That's shift for 3. It normally quests for 1, but it has the ability, this character gets +1 for each opposing damaged character in play. So again, there's a little bit of setup for this. The ability to quest for lots of lore is always, I think, exciting. I think you go into this dream mode like, oh, I can quest for 6 or 7. Whether or not that's really going to be the case, I don't know. I don't think that that's... It would require you to really set up your opponent's board. I'll say B, and maybe I'm just a little bit biased because I like these kind of big effects and I think they're exciting. The fact that it shifts on 3 is really nice. So, if you do have a board, you play this Robin Hood, the 2/2 that gains you 1 lore. You play this on 3. It's a nice body, and then, you try to set up your board in the next couple turns. You can quest with it right away. So I'll put it in B, but I like the card. Really nice art, too. Mother Gothel, Conceited Manipulator. It's a 2 cost inkable 1/3. That's quest for 1. When you play this character, you may pay 3 to return chosen character to their player's hand. So this is funny. Again, Mother Knows Best is pretty much her ability, where you get the modal effect of if you want to pay the extra, that's great. Paying this for 2 seems kind of bad. So, is it worth it paying 5 to get the Mother Knows Best? And the ability is called Mother Knows Best. That's funny. I think it's cool. I think that getting options to do that, and it makes it, if you need a 2-drop, I guess you could play a 2-drop if later in the game, being able to do it for 5 and get a body for it, I think is okay. But, I think it would be better if it was obviously it'd be a lot better if it was cost less one way or the other. So just for that, I'm gonna put it in C. But um, again, cool card. I like the design space of all these like modal effects. Clarabelle, Contested Wallflower. It's a 3-cost inkable 2/3. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their hand than you may draw a card. This again seems real. I'm going to put this in B. Yeah, it's very much like a Maleficent sorceress from Amethyst Set 1. Most likely you're going to be getting this, especially if you build your deck in a way where you don't have either you don't have too much card draw or you're playing a more aggressive strategy, so you're going to be trying to dump your hands more than your opponents will. You're going to hit this more often than not. And if not, it's inkable. So I think that, again, that's a really good card. High B, it could even be low A. I think that it's definitely going to see play, and it's going to probably be the premier shift target for the legendary Clarabelle that we looked at. So, and it's inkable. Yeah, no, this is great. Emerald's looking good this set. All right, 5-cost inkable 3/6 that quests for 1. This character gets +1 strength for each other hyena character you have in play. And then whenever one of your hyena characters challenges a damaged character, gain 2 lore. So this is, I think, the ultimate payoff for hyena decks. What competitive? No, probably not. Definitely, I think, a fun build around. We'll put it in C. And I love the art there. You can see the lurking hyenas and all that stuff. So very, very cool. But competitive, no. A Mother Gothel, Unwaving Schemer. It is a 6-cost inkable 4/6 that quests for 2. It does have Shift 4, and the ability, when you play this character, each opponent chooses one of their characters and returns that card to their hand. So again, we're seeing this bounce effect of your opponent's stuff really playing into, the Mother Gothel effect. You could try to set up your board in a way where you're hitting exactly it is what you want. For 6 ink, the 4/6 is already a good body, and being able to shift it on 4, I think, is good. So in a vacuum, I think that it's already pretty good. If you can get the ability to trigger off on its own, I think that's fine. I think that it's just tough because against decks like Amethyst, you might not want to play this card, but because then they can set up their board to bounce their rabbit back and give them all that kind of stuff where that's already what they want to do. But if that's the case, you just think I'm going to put it in B. I think that'll really depend on what's going on in the meta, but I think that it's exciting tempo play, and honestly, on its own, the fact that it doesn't die to Medusa gives it some validity. Scar, Vengeful Lion, a 4-cost inkable 4/2 with ward that quests for 1. It has the ability, whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. So drawing card is always strong. Emerald kind of struggles with that. This is, I think, going into a different archetype. So we're seeing this ping damage characters matter archetype kind of starting to get more tools. The fact that you have a draw engine in there is really strong. And then we also see the Emerald of like, oh, I'm going to play maybe a little bit more aggressive. I'm not going to draw as many cards, and I'm going to rely on how many cards you have to draw cards with the Clarabelle. I'm going to put this in B. I think that in those damage decks that you'll want to play this just because it's going to give you the card draw, but it's going to be pretty conditional as far as, you need to have them exerted. You need to be able to challenge them. And yeah, but the fact that it has ward is nice too. And inkable. All right, we're getting into the actions now. Hypnotic Deduction. It's a 2-cost inkable. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on the top of your deck in any order. I'm going to put this in D. I mean, I guess if you want to close out a game, you're looking for 1 card. The other 2 cards won't matter, but it just seems like you're kind of delaying the inevitable. If there are ways to shuffle your deck, you could build this in a way where, okay, I'm going to draw 3 cards, put 2 that I don't want, and then shuffle it next turn, maybe. But other than that, you are, again, just putting those cards back, and you're going to draw them in the next 2 turns. I'll move up to C if you can find ways to consistently shuffle your deck, but there aren't too many effects like that in Lorcana, and everything that I've heard from other card games is that when card games start to allow that, it starts to get kind of boring, mostly just shuffling. Night Howler Rage, a 3-cost inkable action. Draw a card. Chosen character gains Reckless during their next turn. Drawing card is always nice, but I think that that's just a little bit too expensive. Maybe if it costed 2, but and again, maybe if it was a song, but to see competitive play, we're needing a little bit more, especially with some of the other tools that we're getting in Amber to draw, or sorry, in Emerald to draw cards. Next is a song, You're Welcome, 4-cost inkable. Shuffle chosen character, item, or location into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards. This, I think, will definitely fit into some decks. I'll put this in B. Pairing this with Amethyst, where, again, you already want to bounce things, almost like a little Yzma effect, but on a song, so you can get it for free. And then if you need to use it on your opponent's stuff to get rid of something, then you can do that as well. And I was just talking about shuffle effects. Here's one right here. So, but again, we've seen this on Yzma. Yzma's already seen play. Putting this in another color, I think, gives it a little bit more, obviously flexibility, and you'll start to see it in some other decks as well. So, cool song. Remember Who You Are, 4-cost uninkable action. If chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw cards until you have the same number. So love the art, by the way. So this is effectively this Clarabelle, but just on an action. Because we have this card, I think that this is going to be a little bit less. It's uninkable. It's super conditional. And you don't get a body at all. So you lose a lot of tempo. Maybe if it was a song and you could, just not lose 4 ink that turn, but the fact that it is not, I think we have other tools now that can do the same thing a little bit more effectively, and we still have presence on the board. So unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to be playable. Prince John's Mirror, item, 3-cost inkable. If you have a character named Prince John in play, you pay 1 less to play this item. At the end of each opponent's turn, if they have more than 3 cards in their hand, they discard until they have 3 cards in their hand. So I'm going to put this in B. There's been a lot of talk about this card and whether or not it's going to be really strong or not that strong at all. I think no matter what, it's going to force decks to have to play some form of item hate. And that's tough for things like Ruby Amethyst, where all they want to do is draw a bunch of cards, and they have never really had ways to deal with items. Steel's going to probably start playing a bunch of Benjas again. I don't know if in Sapphire you'll start seeing Judy Hopps. We do have other ways that we'll look at later to get rid of items, but I think that decks are going to need to have an answer for this, and that on its own, I think, we'll put it in B. How effective it will actually be, I don't know. But again, pairing this with Prince John, they discard a bunch. You draw for each card that they discard. It seems like it can be really strong. And again, hopefully it just doesn't feel too toxic to play against, because everyone's already done with the discarding from Bucky and stuff. So we'll see how it moves forward. Obscura Fear, 1-cost inkable item. You pay 2 and banish this item. Your characters gain ward until the start of your next turn. This is interesting. I mean, we could pair this up to really try to, set up a game-winning turn. So again, we'll look at this card a little bit later in Steel, but there's a card in Steel really strong that's going to say your opponents can't play actions. So you play this on turn, that costs 3. You do this, all your characters have a ward. That means that they can't be targeted by, Medusa or anything like that. They can't have any action, so you're pretty much guaranteed your board state until the next turn. So I think in something like that, it might see some play, but whether or not that is the best option to give ward versus other things, I don't know. Emerald Chromicon, 3-cost uninkable item. During your opponent's turns, whenever one of your characters is banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. I'm going to put this in D, unfortunately. I think that, again, it's too conditional. It's uninkable. And with some of the cards, I think, that are stronger as far as, meet them in the difference of how many cards we have in hand, like the Clarabelle, I think that this is just working against it. But, again, just another option. to build a deck in a different way. So I would definitely want people to explore that. Sherwood Forest, a 2-cost inkable with 7 willpower, costs 2 to move there, except if your characters are named Robin Hood, they get to move there for free. So we're seeing a lot of Robin Hood support. And then characters here gain ward and the ability to exert and pay 1 to deal 2 damage to a chosen damage character. I like this card. I'm going to put this up in B. I think that it starts to give the Robin Hood decks a little bit more merit. And like we just talked about what card is it? Let me go over here. We just talked about the Obscura Fear, right? Where it costs 2 to give it ward. At this point, why not just play this? It costs 2 to give your characters ward here, and then they also have the extra ability of doing that. Now, again, I think ward is pretty strong, so the more options you have to give ward are going to be good, but also the effect that if you have Robin Hoods, you can move them here for free. Like, imagine the champion of Sherwood here with ward. That becomes really tough to deal with. And last card of Emerald, we have Tropical Rainforest at another location. 3-cost inkables with 6 willpower, 1 to move here. Gains you 1 at the start of your turn, and opposing damage characters gain Reckless. I don't know, might see some, like, again, in maybe some of these hyena decks or things that care about being damaged just to make sure that they're constantly, running into you and not questing and can kind of lock them out. But other than that, I don't think it's going to see any competitive play. But there is the review for Emerald, and stay tuned to see our next one, which is Ruby. Peace.